It's your girl Esther Joy coming at you with another video, okay? And today we're going to be talking about sexual expression. So if you tune in during this live stream, awesome. Everything is in divine timing, and you have found this video in the time that you were meant to find this video. So thumbs up on that. But yeah, we're going to be talking a little bit. I wanted to share a story and just share a little bit of the understanding of the sacral chakra and the throat chakra and how these two chakras are connected, and really, a bit about, I guess, me and the struggles I've gone through. A little story time, if you will. So first off, the sacral and the throat chakra are extremely connected. The walls of your pelvic floor for females and your larynx, your throat, is very similar in its structure, and these serve purposes for creative expression. So you already know what's good, Cosmic Being JT. Good to see you out here. You already know these are very much connected. So there's a lot. Whew. How deep am I gonna go in this? No pun intended. We're gonna go as deep as spirit, source, God, oneness is gonna lead us. Okay, so let's just keep that in mind. Alright, so I just feel led to hop in and share the story. And we'll talk more about like the details of energy and how this, in reality is being manifested. So when I was going through, let's say, my struggles back in high school, and I was going through my porn addiction, which I think just came really hard. And yeah, I was in high school. I was in like 20 clubs, and I was just looking for these genuine, kind of authentic, intimate connections. And I wasn't really finding that at that time in high school, even though I was in so many clubs. I was just kind of stretching myself thin, and I wasn't actually looking in the right places. So I started to consume a lot more porn, to the point where I was prioritizing it over spending time with my friends, my family, and just overall my own being. And that definitely reflected in the actual world when I was going to school. Now, I've always been, I guess, kind of a talkative person, but I remember during this time where I was spending most of my time, whenever I was home, pretty much watching porn and getting high and like watching more porn, and a vicious cycle. During school, during the day, I was on 2 swim teams, and I would swim a lot, and I remember not being able to breathe. And if we're in the Discord fam chat, we have an accountability call, and we just kind of chat, and I got this connection that this is associated with a big bit of my communication, but I'm getting ahead of myself. I didn't realize that while swimming that people actually breathed. I know that's weird, and I'll explain further. So, being a really competitive swimmer since a young age, I hated competing. That was something that just gave me a lot of anxiety, but I loved swimming, and I loved seeing how much I could refine my technique. I remember once a coach told me, hey, you're going to swim the individual medley, and you're going to do the 200 IM, and this is your first time doing it. You got this. I remember not even realizing I was signed up for this race, and my coach patting me on the back as he walked me to the block, saying, hey, you're just gonna, sprint, then easy, then sprint, go as fast as you can, and you got this. And then I jumped in the water, and before I knew it, the whistle blew, the gunshot, they said go, and I was just swimming. And in those moments, if you've ever competed in anything or you've gotten in the flow state, you know that you're not really thinking on the same normal plane. You're just allowing your body to go with the flow. After around 2 laps of this like 8 lap individual medley, I realized that I was having difficulty breathing. And I knew that it could be because I was so anxious, and I don't like competing, and I'm also in the water anyways. But when I went up to breathe during the backstroke section, I realized I couldn't breathe air even though my face was out of the water. And this was something that I did not stop competing. Was good kicks. I just continued to swim even though I couldn't breathe, and internally I was kind of freaking out because I felt like I was drowning. In my mind, I thought this must be because I'm so anxious and this is my first time doing this. Maybe this is normal. And so I finished the race. I was just thankful to finish, and this continued. This breathing, not being able to breathe, continued as I went through practice. And I remember once, telling my swim mates, it's so difficult when you can't breathe sometimes. And they were kind of confused what I meant with that. They were like, "Oh yeah, you can't breathe in the water." And then I said, no, like when you get out of the water, if it's like a hard set, you just can't breathe. And yeah, so that wasn't normal. I thought it was normal. I literally thought that everyone couldn't breathe for whatever godforsaken reason, that everyone, like, their vocal cords just closed. I went to, I took some tests with the doctor, and I was diagnosed with vocal cord displacement. And this is the interesting part. This was also during the time in my life where I started consuming a lot of porn. And I remember that being a captain of the swim team, I ended up staying home watching porn instead of going to my own homecoming where I was called out for an award. And that in itself should just tell you kind of the struggle that was going through with actually expressing myself and getting caught in an imbalance. Because my throat chakra was so underactive, it was literally cutting off the oxygen I needed to breathe. And so I was looking for that through my sacral chakra. I was looking through for that through the porn I was watching and all of these things that actually weren't satisfying what needed to happen. And so this is important to acknowledge when you're working with the chakras, that it's not just one chakra. If you have an imbalance with any of your chakras, it's going to translate to the other ones. So in my case, I had a really, really deficient throat chakra, and the name of, the disorder I had was vocal cord displacement. My vocal cords were not actually being used the way they should have been used because I wasn't actually expressing myself in the way I should have been expressing myself. Instead, I was kind of pushing myself and doing a lot of things that honestly were not nurturing me or my inner child, but I digress. So I didn't realize this until really recently, that this dis-ease that I had during that time was connected to something I was struggling with that almost seems unrelated. But again, this is really important, that if you have any imbalance with any of your chakras, Cosmic GK, my beautiful being of light, it begins with understanding that they're all interconnected. And so if you want to balance one of your chakras, if you want to balance your sacral chakra, if you're struggling with like that stuff, or you want to balance your throat chakra and you're struggling with that kind of stuff, your expression, then you have to acknowledge that if this one is deficient, I realized, like, yeah, this one is not really speaking. I wasn't speaking up my mind. I was just kind of letting other people speak for me. Yeah, I wasn't even like allowing myself to breathe and really express myself in the way I wanted to. Guys, I was gonna join the Air Force, and I still might, but I was definitely not doing it from a place of me and my expression. I was doing it from a place of what other people were telling me. And so there was a lot of lies, and there was a lot of just not being my true authentic self and not speaking to anyone. I was kind of really depressed, hence why I was watching so much porn and finding a way to cope. And I was so scared to tell anyone this because I felt like it would ruin the expression that I had made up. This lie that I had exaggerated in everyone's mind, I had thought. And I didn't want them to know, and because I wasn't actually communicating, I wasn't able to build those kind of intimate connections that actually help nurture your sacral chakra. And so by cutting off my throat, I was just building up all this energy in my sacral, and I had nowhere to go. So yes, being able to communicate is such a blessing. And some things you can do to balance your throat chakra would be, whew, I know it sounds simple, but breathe. Just breathe. When I realized I had vocal cord displacement, I had to do a lot of breath work. I went to a form of speech therapy where I would bring awareness to my throat and how it is opened or closed, and I would do breath exercises. Ecstatic breathing is one of the ones I would do the most, where you would inhale twice from your nose and exhale once from your mouth, like okay, I'm not gonna do that too much, but and after even doing that kind of therapy, it really opened my eyes to how important breath is. It opened my eyes to how much I wasn't listening to myself, and therefore I didn't have an opportunity to communicate and use my throat chakra in a truthful way, because I had never actually looked within myself to see what is the truth. What actually is the truth for me? Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. And Alex, I'm gonna be real. I mean, some people in the Air Force might be like mad at me, but I feel like their jobs are probably the most relaxed out of all of the branches. I mean, I'm just gonna leave that there. They're like a bunch of nerds. I mean, much love. I know a lot of people in the Air Force, and I was in the auxiliary of the Air Force for 6 years, and that's like the civil part of a branch. But I am thankful that I decided to actually look for myself at what was going on. Being able to speak to myself and say, hey, what's up with you? Like, why do you feel like you can't speak to anyone? And at the time, I literally felt like I was so alone because I was ashamed of what I was doing, and I didn't want anyone to just know what was actually me, who I truly was. Like, it's kind of silly. Like, we're all human and no one expects you to be perfect, but you have this ego that wants you to be perfect, and it's just like, no, that's not how it works. Thank God. But it that's literally where I was for like 3 years. I was just like, yeah, I can't tell anyone that I'm like struggling with this porn addiction and like, weird stuff is happening. No, and I just don't have anyone to speak. And that goes to this idea that when you are balancing your throat chakra, you must bring awareness to your sacral chakra. And I'm sure everyone's energy system is different, and it depends what kind of channels are connected, if you know human design and stuff like that. But for me, I have found, and for a majority of like generators or people who have a prominent sacral chakra that either enjoy doing creative things, it it requires you to also be having a balanced throat chakra. You need to be able to speak and express yourself, especially, children. If they're not able to express themselves and speak their minds, such as like, I'm hungry, or I pooped myself. I don't know. They need to be able to express themselves, because that's what actually builds that connection and that intimacy with other people. The sacral chakra is all about building connections, co-creating, using your creative force with other people, using your imagination. And so this is really important, because this is what we're going to express. We want to build connections with others. That's why we use our throat chakra. We express our being to others. And so being truthful and not being fearful of this connection. You are not perfect. I am not perfect. I don't want to even, I'm not looking for perfection. I'm looking for a genuine, authentic connection with another human being. And I think when we allow ourselves to not perfect our expression in a way where we feel like in our imagination, or this fear of connecting with others because that perfect ego that we've created for ourselves is gonna shatter, it's just like, just let it shatter. What is good, Jamin? But really, it's been a journey getting to learn and understand how the sexual energy within all of us, the sensual energy that is craving connection and intimacy from others, how to express that in a way that is truthful, that is pure, and overall not perverted. I feel like, there are many ways to look at perversion, but I just see it as another word for distortion of your energy field. If you are having a perverted kind of sacral chakra and only you know what that is for you, so I'm not here to define that. It's just a word that you know what it is. But that distortion is going to communicate with not actually being able to clearly communicate. You're going to have a perverted or distorted kind of communication line. And I'll say from, again, experience, I had this one friend that I met, and it was at a party, and they were like, I can only talk to girls when I'm drunk. And immediately I was like, well, okay, I think that there might be, I just called them out on their like throat chakra, sacral chakra imbalance. Um, because there's so much kind of energy in one field that it's hard to focus and actually give that energy out in a pure way that's genuinely who you are. And I'm not saying, okay, the distortions are a part of who you are. That is a part of the energy that you're here to kind of comb through. It's up to you how fine tooth that comb is going to be. How many chains, I guess, you're going to break for your generation or whatnot. But what is good, yo yo? Good viber. But for real, we are all here to learn from one another. And none of us are perfect, and none of us need to be perfect to open up our throat chakra a little bit more. Yes, it is good to open up your throat chakra. And trust me, fam, this is something, believe it or not, I'm still absolutely working on. Like 110%, I'm still working on it because there's still a long way for me to go. I'm so thankful for having this channel and this opportunity to connect with you and express myself in this way. And I understand that there's sometimes a lot of things that I'm not sure how to say or if they're appropriate. And trying to comb through my own mind with a fine tooth comb. Um, but also not trying to over filter in any way that is, again, distorting it. It goes both ways. I feel like a lot of people, they got their mind in the gutter, so they feel like perversion is just their mind in the gutter. But I also feel like there are many ways that can look like not necessarily even like dirty things. But if you're just being obsessively clean, I also feel like that is some kind of perversion, is the best way I can put it, or distortion, I should say. But yes, your sexual energy should be expressed in a safe and meaningful way for you. It should be wholesome in a way that other people can connect and relate. And I see this most expressed through art. I mean, I love art. I'm kind of like an art major. I like art, I like drawing, and I've drawn a lot of naked people. And I think it's amazing. I don't know how many, I mean, there are lots of different kinds of, I guess, majors or stuff, but being able to look at another person's body and draw them from that view, I think gives a new perspective of intimacy in a wholesome way where you are using your sacral chakra in a creative way that is not only building a skill or building your ability to communicate your imagination, but it is also building that connection and intimacy with those around you, even if it's a random stranger that you don't really know, that's just posing there in front of you. You're still building a connection that is kind of a wholesome, intimate moment that you are sharing and capturing. And this also goes to our throat chakra in terms of being able to express this and share this with others. Our sacral chakras are internal, kind of how we crave these intimate connections, and our throat chakra is how we actually go out to connect with others and communicate these kind of connections. So if we are wanting to refine our throat chakra, then there's a reason why Kundalini risings start at the bottom and you start with the first chakra, which is the root, getting a good security so that you are not worried about all of the other things that are vital for life, you know, your vessel, your being, your physical shelter, things like that, being able to release ancestral karma, you could say, all of this stuff that has made you you. And then when you go up to the sacral chakra, you're more able to understand how you prefer to connect with other people, quite frankly, using your imagination, because there are so many ways to connect with people intimately and not necessarily in a sexual way. Um, yeah, like art is probably, again, art, music, dancing, all of these ways that we're able to use our imagination to express what we are feeling, our emotions to other people, and grow a bond or a connection with each other. That's the intention of the sacral chakra. And I think that, in this society, there's a lot of porn, and that's kind of like artificial intimacy, if to better or worse, that's the words that are coming to mind. And so it's really important to realize that you have the opportunity to create or consume with your sacral chakra and with all of your chakras. It goes in and it goes out, but there should be a balance with that. You should always be looking for, what am I consuming and how is that contributing to what I'm creating? Whether it is positive or negative, that's going to contribute to whatever you are creating. So with my case, I was not consuming good stuff for like 3 years, or more, of my life, and it was very intense during that time. So that's why it stuck out the most. And during that time, I was consuming really bad stuff, kind of messed up stuff, and I was creating pretty bad stuff. I wasn't really creating much of anything. Yeah, real angsty stuff, but yeah, definitely. And I love that, Cosmic Being JT, ceramics are amazing, beautiful way to use your hands and create something from the clay. And yeah, I'm so thankful, Alex, just being able to share my experience, because it's still happening. I think it's happening for all of us as we speak. But yeah, being able to connect to those distortions in our energy allow us to have more awareness to how we can better navigate through them and clear those energies from our field to better optimize our life. Yeah, it is so crazy how you don't really realize it, or at least I didn't realize how connected the chakras were, and how connected my porn addiction was to actually how I was communicating in the world. For whatever reason, I thought these two were different things. Silly Esther. No, they were not. These chakras are very much tied together, and it was reflected in pretty much everything, how I was speaking with people, how I was expressing myself, and especially just what I was consuming and how that was creating the situation. So, yeah, there are a lot of different examples, and being aware of the interconnectedness of the chakras has really helped open my eyes, and hopefully your eyes as well, to the importance of monitoring more than just that one problem area of your life, but also seeing where it is kind of intermingling with other parts of your life. So, yeah, it is okay to express yourself in a creative and even sensual way. Hey, thumbs up. As long as you are doing it in a truthful way that is actually showing yourself and your truth, then nice. You give me, I got 2 thumbs up for you out there, fam. But yeah, good viber. I just wanted to make this video to remind you that it is okay to express yourself, in just, the sexual expression is a part of our life, and it is good to be able to not feel shameful or guilty about it. Going back to the throat chakra, you're probably not gonna have the best time communicating because you're just gonna have a lot of blocks there. So it's important to be aware of what's going on with your sacral chakra, with what you are consuming, how you're building connections, how you are looking for intimacy, however that looks, and what you are creating, because that is all connected. And I'm so thankful. I've learned a lot, and I'm still learning. Heck, I'm definitely still learning, bro. Fam, good viber. You already know this. Like, oh man, Esther's still learning, and Esther's thankful to learn with you, because it makes me feel more thankful to be able to connect with you, build these connections, and love just being vibing with the creator, God, source, oneness, in a way that we can actually learn how to balance ourselves and live a better quality of life, where we are just feeling more balanced and fulfilled in all areas of our life. And so, yeah, enjoy the rest of your day. thank you so much for spending a little bit of time with me on this topic. Honestly, I'm gonna be honest, I was kind of freaking out about making this video a little bit. And that's probably some stuff again that I'm working on because it's not anything weird, but we're working on it all together collectively. So you are not alone with whatever you're working with. Let me know what chakras you feel like are wanting to be balanced or what that looks like, how it's being manifested in your life, okay? I mean, I gave a whole example in this video. You don't have to go as in depth, but I do feel like it does bring a lot more light and awareness to all of the Good Vibe fam when we're able to share and build those connections with each other because we're all human. Again, no one's perfect and no one is wanting you to be. So yeah, thank you so much again for joining. I appreciate you and I will see you in the next video. Namaste and God